Today.
Thank you for joining us. We appreciate everyone that has given us questions ahead of time. Makes it so nice. We're going to try to get to all of them if we can. If we miss yours, we will certainly answer another way to get it to you.
Yeah, and you are welcome to, first of all, let us know who's on the chat. That's the only way we know. We have no visibility if you don't say hello. But then also you can let us know where you're from, or calling from, dialing from. And then also if you have questions of your own,
Right.
We'll go back through the chat as we are answering questions so that we try to cover everything in the chat as well.
Yeah, thank you again for joining. And we are in South Africa, Cape Town, and it's been a long time. We've been here already and getting a lot less done than we wanted to because there's a lot to do with rescheduling. And we'll talk a little bit about that. That's been going on with our life lately.
Yes, we're so glad to be in Cape Town for 36 days. This was like very well timed. For those of you who may have missed it, we had an announcement recently that I became an Italian dual citizen, which is amazing. There's a ton of paperwork that has to happen, but it definitely caused us to kind of have to scramble and regroup about some of the ways that we're living our lives.
Yeah. We went through a lot of it in the video, but the short of the story is to get all this done, we kind of have to start doing some stuff right now. So we were trying to make sure we were prioritizing the right things. Always
Yes.
tricky.
Which includes language learning and talking to attorneys and tax people and all kinds of things so
And
that
being in the
we're
right country at the right time, which is the trickier part because now Judy's been working on rescheduling things.
yes, yeah. So having a span of time, which is one of the reasons that a little bit slower travel at times works really well, because we just have our lives that we also have to sort out, and it makes it easier to kind of do it from other places. I wouldn't want to say, oh, I want to stop my travels so that I can work on our travel planning or on anything else. For us, the idea is just stay longer wherever we are traveling and do that as part of life, because the people who live in the places that we're in are living their lives, so it can be done. But we have so many people to say hello to, my goodness. So actually, even before we went live, there were a bunch of people and who started to say hello. So I don't know if that's going to come through when we actually share the live on replay. I will tell you in terms of housekeeping, if you show up late or if you have to drop early, the same link that got you here will get you to the rest of the story. So you're not really missing anything, but the fun of being here with us live.
Yeah. All right. Now we're going to have to be a little more efficient with all our time. So do you want to get right to the questions or?
Sure. Let's say hello to a few people first,
sure.
if that's all right. It will give some people who haven't jumped on right at the top of the hour some time to get on as well. So we have Gwen and Clayton, who are currently in Belgrade, and Lee and Michelle from Craft Beer Travels from Bari, Italy. Yay. And let's see, we've got Karen from Edmonton, Canada, which is awesome. And we've got Stan and Aaron, who are in France, and Lydia, who's in Atlanta. We've also got, let's see, oh, Sam, oh, wait. You kind of have to be careful because the slides are not paying attention. Nomad Jim, Gray Travels, Journey with Judy. Go ahead.
Mexico, Istanbul, Indonesia. I mean, people from all over, which is really wonderful to see because you're our people. You're traveling and you're capturing parts of the world, and you do a great job too of helping us find more places because a lot of your comments and feedback lead to us planning different trips.
Yes, yeah. We've got Amy and Rich on the call, and Mark Scovell. And Holly, hooray. You have some questions and we're happy to answer them today. Let's see. Oh, Ellen and Bill from Better Living After 50. We've got a question from you as well. And what I love seeing is that there are enough communications. A lot of people are in our La Familia forum, which if you aren't already part of that forum, we hope you'll join. It's a closed forum, so it's private. Not everybody has access to it the
But
way
it's
they
free.
do on Facebook, but it's free.
Yeah.
And we do meetups. And so some people meet up without us, and it seems as though people who've connected with one another are saying hello here, and that's something we absolutely love.
Yes, wonderful. And our La Familia forum is, as Judy said, free from any kind of interference from the outside. You're not posting a comment that's beyond on the internet. It's our group, and you can safely share things. We keep it well maintained. So far, we haven't had to kick anybody out. You're all wonderful people. But
Yeah.
if it ever happens, we will be on it, and we'll make sure that it's a safe place for everyone.
Yeah, I think that's one of our best favorite things is the people who are there are all very different from different walks of life and everything else, but everybody's kind, and that we're so grateful for that. I also want to tell you that there were several comments that probably will lend themselves to us putting links in the video description. So if you've asked a specific question, you'll want to go there because there might be additional information that we think might be useful for you.
Great.
Let's jump into some of the questions. So let's start with Lonnie, who asked, after a month or so with your new phone service Popcorn, what's your impression? Any issues from two-step authentication or banking?
No, frankly, it works just like any other eSIM service. It just is another company that's fairly new within the last year. Really, their app has been upgraded quite a bit lately. And as far as I know, it's still an Apple only, an iPhone only app. So I don't think it's there for Android people yet. We started jumping on Popcorn because we were having trouble with T-Mobile after 12 years with them and 2-3 years of full-time travel. They started to say, oh, you're not home in the US enough. And they cut off our international data service. So we were using eSIMs, and one of our followers said, hey, you should try Popcorn, which I never heard of. And it's been working out well because we have another question coming up about using dual eSIMs, and we were doing that for a while, but Popcorn's kind of let us roll that all into one, and been very happy with it. It's a flat fee, no limits, but they do have some suggested limits. So read all the fine print, but very happy with it so far.
Okay, so here's my first glitch. Doesn't look like I'm not logged in. I had told you it said that I was logged out. So you get another question. How many credit cards are necessary for extended overseas travel? And you do part of it, and I'll try to get to the rest.
Okay, so required is a strange word because you are required to do anything except I like to use our Sapphire Reserve for most of our charges. Judy also has a Sapphire Reserve, which is turned into kind of a very expensive second card. So we're still analyzing that. I also have an Apple card that I've had for a while that is used as a backup. And recently, I also have a debit card that I use, a Schwab card that lets us avoid bank fees. But I'm not using it as a credit card. And lastly, I got a United Mileage Explorer Plus because we were starting to take a lot of United flights again, and we got opted out of all the baggage charges by using that card. So it was just a convenient thing. We don't really use it much. Again, our primary card is the one we use all the time to try to get the most points, but we're also using the other cards as backups in case something happens.
And I don't know if Kevin said this, but it is important if you are a woman to have your own cards that are not just ancillary, like Kevin's account that I'm on, and I share a credit card with his account, because what happens is if something were to happen to him,
Yeah.
I don't get like a credit rating based on being ancillary to that account. And also I don't get the miles. If something were to happen to him, all the miles that would accrue disappear.
And that's why we got Judy's Sapphire Reserve card, even though at the time it was cheaper and it seemed like a good idea, and she built up her own credit and her own miles, and we were kind of splitting things between the two. Because mine, she had her own card with her name on it in my account, but she couldn't call the credit card company and complain about anything. She couldn't do anything. She was basically said, no, we need to talk to Kevin. So ridiculous way to run a credit card operation. But anyway, she's right. Judy needed her own card to make sure that if I die, she's not left without some kind of credit rating and her own ownership of these bank accounts.
Right. Let's say Lydia says she's having trouble with her T-Mobile, so she'll look into popcorn. I will say we had no trouble for 3.5 years with T-Mobile. So it was a convenient option, but so far we've been pretty happy with popcorn.
Yeah, the difference is T-Mobile was costing us quite a bit because on top of our base service, we were paying $50 each a month to make sure that we had 15 gigabytes of data and unlimited phone calls. And so that added up pretty quickly, where popcorn, I believe, is $69 per person, and that's it, flat fee. So we weren't running up any extra bills. There weren't any extra charges like the T-Mobile stuff. T-Mobile's, while it's working, and we were warned by other people that this might happen to us, but we've been very lucky, and it didn't happen for almost 3.5 years. They kind of warned us a couple times, and then it came to a head, and I called them and said, we've been your customers for 12 years. And they're like, we don't care.
Yeah, it didn't matter.
It didn't matter. Well, what if I go away? Bye.
So Kathy Burrows is asking, we have developed mobility issues, difficulty walking any distances, planning a trip to Turin, Parma, Budapest, and she's concerned about benches, affordable alternatives to walking. And let's think through, because it's been a while since we've been to Turin. I will say we were in Budapest recently, and that one for sure, I can admit to the fact that we got around very well, and there's a tram service.
Yeah, Turin is very flat. It's not a big, and they do have a tram right down the main street that we were on.
Now, are you saying Turin or are you saying Budapest, which is what I was saying?
I was saying Turin's like Budapest.
Okay, great.
It's the same way. It's flat. It's got tram service. We were only there 10 days, and it's been a long time. But it was
2023.
Yeah, it was easy to get around, and the streets are wide. It's not like some cities like Genoa was really tight streets and twisty back streets, and Torino or Turin is just wide open and a very flat city for the most part. They're hills, but you kind of have to work hard to get to them as opposed to some other cities.
Yes, and when we were in Parma, I honestly don't remember. We walked everywhere, so I know it was very walkable. I don't remember. I don't think that it was a very lived-in town. I don't remember there necessarily being cobblestones.
Hard to tell because, especially in Italy, you might get a square or something that is all full of cobblestones, and you still have to cross it every day just because you got to get from point A to point B. So it may be one of those rough points in your day. I don't know. I don't remember if that city had or not. I do know that there's been a few very hilly cities in Italy that.
Yeah, but Parma wasn't. One of the things I will tell you about Parma, which is not what you're asking, but there are a lot of people who don't speak English there. We managed just fine, but it was probably one of the more Italian cities where it's a much more local experience, which we loved, but just something to keep in mind.
Fantastic ham. Honestly, not just a joke. It really is, and the cheese there was amazing too. So
yeah, we have a video. I'll put a link down somewhere, yeah. and I think we started thanks to one of our viewers, Dan, who had suggested that we include mobility ratings, which we started to do. We're not so diligent about it anymore.
We do it when it's kind of a concern in places, and I think that's if you don't see an alert, it's probably because we didn't see any problem with it.
Right. Yes. I do want to say hello to Carol and Jim, and we have Matt and Tasia here, and we also have Matt and Karen who are. We're supposed to be launching in June, and we haven't touched base to hear how that's going either. So I'm just excited for all of the people who are on the call. Please just say hello and let us know you're here. We really appreciate all of you, and we thank you for watching our channel and being so supportive of us. Mike Nelson had said, "What place did you not connect with that upon reflection you want to revisit because your gut tells you that you just missed something? Maybe you stayed in the wrong neighborhood, or it was the wrong time of year, or you weren't in the right frame of mind." So I would say one of the easiest is Argentina. We had a really hard time for a variety of reasons. It felt like we were cursed, and there were so many things going wrong. And we know that some things had to do with the changing economy just when we had shown up. And many other people have said that they had had great experiences, but we'd talked to people who, when we were there, who overlapped us, had similar issues. So it wasn't just us being dramatic. We know that there are things that could go wrong every place, but that's a place that we kind of feel like we would like to go back and try again for. What about Saigon? Because I would say that that was one of the other places that just didn't hit for us. But we were coming from Japan and we stayed in a not great part of town. It wasn't a bad part of town, but it wasn't.
It's the bad side of a highway.
It was a bad time. Yeah, like getting to the places that we needed to get to made it more challenging. And like I guess
I don't know if it qualifies for me as a place I'd want to go back and re-explore, because I think we did do a good job at the end of getting a tour that gave us some other parts of the city, and I experienced it. I feel like, check, I'm good.
but at the same time, we really did like Hanoi,
Yeah.
and in fact,
Hoi An.
Hoi An, and I'm actually looking in 2028 about going back to Vietnam because there is more of that country I do want to see. But I can understand you really didn't click with it as
It's a very spread out city too, which adds to the frustration sometimes when you're trying to get to, like Bangkok. I really love Bangkok for a lot of reasons, but it certainly ate up a lot of our time getting from point A to point B, either walking in the heat or trying to get to a metro station or trying to get to the other side of town because that's where something we wanted to go see is. So it's when the city's very spread out for us, it makes it more difficult to explore in a shorter period of time, which I think those kind of places right away put me off, and I go, ah, I really like the area, but I don't know if this is a place I want to spend time in because I'm burning a lot of time.
right. I do also say that there's been some places that we haven't loved. We're glad we got to experience, but we just wouldn't go back. And there's not that many of those.
No.
But at the same time, it's kind of like, all right, we maybe could do it from another angle, but we're not invested enough to try because there's places we want to see more.
Yeah, and I think that's what it comes down to. Like, we didn't spend very much time in Seoul, South Korea, but I really liked it. But I don't know if there's that much more to explore to go back and give ourselves another try versus there's so many cities in some countries we just haven't gotten to. Like, we're going back to Poland because we've only been to one city. We really enjoyed it. And everyone goes, oh, what about this city? What about that city? And so we're trying to look at the things that people are saying, oh, if you like this city, what about these? So instead of going back to a place and saying, let's give it another college try, it's like, let's do that later maybe. And let's try to capture some of the other experiences to get a broader view of a country, which we just had a comment recently. Someone was criticizing that our view of a country was just one city. And we said, well, that's not our view of the country. We actually try to say, this is where we were in this one city, and this is what we experienced in this one area at the time of year we were there. We know that's not the whole country. So we like to go back to countries when we can and get another viewpoint from another city and another vantage point, because all the places we've been in Italy, which is the most visited country, are very, very different. We can't just say, oh yeah, all these cities were similar.
Yeah, we've been to 32 cities in Italy, and I know that there are still so many more places to see that will bring their own character that we haven't experienced yet.
Okay.
But at the same time, I guess I want to expand on that a little bit and say that everybody has their own way of choosing to travel, and there absolutely is no right way or wrong way. And we would never even tell people you have to full-time travel like we do, because even if you are one of those people, you may decide that you are perfectly content to be in a place for 5 days and move to another part of the country. And you may see 6 cities in the time that we see one. And that's okay. And you may spend a year focused on one part of the world where we kind of jump around. And it all is just like, I feel like there's no right or wrong way.
Yeah.
But I think it helps when you understand how we choose to travel as the lens that we look through how what our experiences are.
Yep, I agree with that.
So, okay, so Fran said, you mentioned that you don't use guidebooks to plan your trips. So what is your research project process? And also she also has new Italian citizenship. So congratulations to you as well.
We stick a map to a wall and throw a dart.
We use a lot of AI, and a combination of we'll look online for, let's say, best neighborhoods to be in, and sometimes I will go to Viator and also Airbnb experiences. Those are my two favorite places to look for things to do when I'm in a place. Now, because of the way we travel and also having a YouTube channel and our Voyage Vault app, it does kind of mean that we have a lot of other things we're juggling besides just sightseeing. Mm-hmm. So in a lot of instances, we aren't pre-planning everything that we'll see and do until we actually arrive in a place, which is one of the reasons we like to give ourselves a little bit more time. Some people will go back to the US or wherever their home base is, do all of their trip planning, and then they'll have their trips already prearranged. We kind of like to show up in a place and see what it wants to teach us. And sometimes that doesn't work, but I will tell you that we never plan the way we used to when we were in vacation mode, which was basically we could have known everything about the country or the city that we were visiting before we even got there, because we spent an entire year planning the trip and how to get from this place to this place in the same city and all of that. We have a much lighter approach these days. So it's kind of like, what is our energy level like? What is this a place that I want to explore more green space? Are the people here ones that I'm curious about? Mm-hmm. And that's where, like, what will guide what I use. But we don't really use a lot of YouTube channels because we want to be surprised and experience it for ourselves. Especially, I think you can do a lot of trip planning, but when you have a YouTube channel, we don't want to make our experience be, these are the 5 things that somebody else did, and so we're going to do them and basically show you our version of those 5 places. We want to pick like out of like a quiver, and what is the one that suits us and the way we live, and just use that. Because I think it's very easy to look at a top 10 list or a top 15 list and do those things, but we kind of know how we want to travel. So we do put a lot of information into AI, including like our videos and our scripts. And we'll say, okay, this is the way we like to travel. So based on some of this, when we're in this country, tell me what you think we'll like to do. Now, sometimes that does not always work. We've been in places where some of the things that's suggested are either wrong or they're not really all that interesting.
They're so minor. Well, that's the thing. We always are very careful with AI. We use it as a you do some research for us, but we always verify because it can get so much wrong. So please, if you're doing any planning or any kind of relying on AI, do your own verification and fact checking, because it can really steer you wrong. And another thing we do before we get to a place is we focus really a lot on where we're going to stay. So when we're looking for a location, we're looking at what's near it. We'll go onto the map system. We'll do walkarounds if we can. We'll look at images from that area to see, is this the kind of environment we want to be in? Is it close to some sort of transit service? Is it near water? We love lakes and rivers and oceans. So anything like that kind of is the research we're doing to make sure when we land, we're in a good space to do anything else we want to, especially when Judy's saying, if we want to do these kind of tours and this kind of activity, well, if we're in, let's say, Costa Rica, we did the wrong research and we ended up in San Jose, which is not the place you want to be. And so we looked around and said, well, this is a comfortable neighborhood,
I
but
mean, it was a great place,
it's
but
a great place.
you go to Costa Rica to be in nature.
Yeah, that's just it. So even when we do a lot of research, sometimes we miss the big picture. So we're always learning, but just another caution about AI. Just do your own research on top of that.
Right. And that's where, like, I will look at a lot of blogs as well that are, people who've been to places and actually had experiences in those places. Of course, if somebody recommends something to us, we'll always look at that as well.
And we ask in La Familia. We'll ask people that have given us advice before, if you've anybody been to this place, what's your experience? Anything we can do to get real people to tell us real things helps.
Yeah, I completely agree. I do want to say thank you to Enrica. He's been just like so supportive in our comments section. I don't know what we would do without his encouragement. So we really appreciate you a lot. And we've also got Greg and Lisa. And I think I said hello to Brian and Neil via a text, but awesome. We'll get to some of these questions, but we still have a few more to get through here. So 2 questions from Martin, and he's amazing. He has been my travel guru, especially when we started going outside our comfort zone to parts of the world that were very unfamiliar to us.
He's very experienced.
Yes. So he had 2 questions. The first is a little awkward to answer, but we will. He said, do you 2 ever get recognized while traveling? If so, tell all. Well, we're not going to tell all, but we will say yes, we do get recognized, and it's the best thing in the world. If you see us in the wild, we hope you'll say hello to us. Right. If we can, we would love to meet up for coffee or a meal. Even if you catch us on the street, if we can coordinate something because our travel overlaps enough, we absolutely want to do that.
It's just interesting when we meet people, because it's usually during a passing moment in the street, or our first time we met anybody was in Chiang Mai, and that person was coming out of the building that we were staying in and we were going in. He turns and looks at us and he goes, I just saw you guys. I was just watching a video of yours.
We just happened to be in the same Airbnb.
Same building, and we happened to be passing by, and so he and his wife, we went out to dinner and just had some talks, and it was a really great experience. Like, we've never bumped into somebody and said, oh, that's annoying. It's like, no, this is wonderful. And we do often get a chance to sit down and have coffee, find out what they had experiences with in the country that we're staying in. It's always been wonderful.
Now, it's easier because we do a ton of meetups that we prearrange. Somebody knows that we're going to be in a place, or through our La Familia forum, or just because they've watched our travel planning videos, and that's awesome too. So I want to say that in addition to Chiang Mai, Lake Como, Rome, Tirana, Bangkok, Laos, Singapore, Penang, and Riga have all been just in the wild. Random people have stopped us on the street.
Yeah, in some cities more than once, which is funny.
Different people.
Yeah, different people. Yeah, well, gosh, not stalkers.
And then his next question was, have you been anywhere and not published a travel video? If so, why? So, I answer this a little bit backwards, and it has been one of our challenges, because if we're going to go to a place, it's because we're curious about it. And you all are like we connect so much with you that we don't want to go someplace and not share the places we've been. So we'd rather stay longer in a place and have enough time to do things. But for us, a vacation that doesn't involve bringing you there feels like I wouldn't want to do that. I would want to go someplace I've already been, that we've already shared our love of it or our experiences there. So no, there really hasn't been any place. of course, when we're in the US and we're just seeing family, we don't do videos. Although the first time we were in Palm Springs, we did do a video from there. so there
It was
was
the talking
that.
heads, though. We weren't showing on it.
No, it wasn't. I don't know. There was video there.
Yeah.
But yeah, fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. But it had a lot of B-roll of
Sure.
background of the places we were.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, we did the Christmas thing.
Yeah. But outside of that, so our feeling is we'll stay longer if we have stuff we have to get done. Because we really do want to bring you with us. But I would say that our time in Buenos Aires is probably the first place that we ended up not even sightseeing at all. We have plans to go back next year for 5 days, and we'll see how that works because we're going to go on Antarctica cruise, and it's going to take some preparation before that. And so we're there 5 days early. We'll see what sightseeing we can get in. But that's the only place that we've ever been that we didn't do a travel video. We did a video to kind of say some of what we thought you needed to know and what you needed to know. But we didn't sightsee at all while we were there, except to go get food, which we got food a good amount of time. But
yeah, that was also a very busy city because we were getting together one of our big what we spent videos at the time. So a lot of work done in Buenos Aires.
Yes. So somebody asked, what's the weirdest thing that happened to you whilst traveling? And I have to say, we don't have weird things that happen to us. Not really. I would say charming things or unexpected things we definitely have had. And I would say, and this is a story we've told a lot, but when we were in Chiang Mai, we had gone regularly to a cafe called Mama Sandwich.
Oh, yeah.
And
I couldn't think
the people gave us a candle for St. Yeah, it was like handmade candle for Valentine's Day, which was one of the sweetest things. And we've had lovely things happen, but I wouldn't say that there has been anything weird. But you know,
we did get mugged by monkeys one time in the Sahara Desert, but you know.
All right, that's probably true.
There was a lot of screaming going on. I had the monkey on my shoulder, and I had another one here, and I hear this screaming, and she's got them in her hair.
Yeah, it's like I would actually say that was not a good thing. So yes, we were in the Sahara, and this place which
it's like the end of the trip, and we were driving back and stopped at this.
Yes, and so as soon as we stopped, there was someone from the outside who opened our door and put monkey feed in our hands, and then all of these monkeys gathered around for us to feed. But in retrospect, first of all, I think for 2 reasons I wouldn't recommend doing it. It was kind of cool, but also these are monkeys in nature, wild.
Yeah.
And if we would have been scratched or something would have happened, we would have had to try to get a tetanus shot or whatever. It was irresponsible for us to do. And I also think that there's a very good possibility that locals are trying to tame these monkeys, or kind of, maybe tame's not the right word, but like bring them out so that tourists will see them and everything else, which doesn't help them to be in the wild and be like the animals.
We're not
nature intended them to be.
We're not a fan
it was
of
exploited.
Zoos. We're not a fan of zoos. We love sanctuaries when people are rescuing animals, so those are places we appreciate. But we've kind of drifted away from zoos and places that are exploiting animals, and that was kind of an exploitation.
Right. Yes, because we were obviously then paying these people who gave us food, and it wasn't in the best interest of the monkeys.
Yep.
But is that weird? I don't know. It just was an experience that we were unprepared for.
Yeah.
I think there was another question attached to that. Oh, how do you balance enjoying the moment versus filming it? It kind of goes back to our earlier point where we really try to bring you the things that we're most interested in. And it is really a balancing act. And I think, Kevin, I think in the beginning, it was definitely harder because either we were filming too much, where I think Kevin especially was feeling like he would be the person who would film and I would take notes about everything I was seeing and experiencing. But it meant that both of us were a bit distracted.
The hardest part really isn't the city, because we generally enjoy the location we're at and we get to walk around it. But when we're on a tour, sometimes I'm very distracted doing the recording and making sure we capture everything. So I don't feel like I get to listen as closely as I'd like to. I try to. And it's worse when we're in a museum or something that's very densely packed. And then there's a group and we're trying to get through with them and then we're trying to listen to what's going on. I feel like sometimes I'm recording and I couldn't tell you what was in the museum half the time because it's just so much work to do that. But in general, no, it doesn't get in the way of us enjoying a place. Just sometimes a very intense tour will kind of get lost for me.
Yeah, and at one point we were doing more vlogging about certain parts and like trying to memorize a bunch of facts so that we could share them with you. We've just decided that that's not
Not
really
our
our
specialty.
strength. It's easier for us to enjoy certain places and either after the experience we'll have a voiceover about it, or after the experience we'll share our thoughts while we're outside of that place, or if it makes sense and we have time, we'll share them inside so that you're getting our authentic reactions to them.
Yeah.
But you kind of have to figure out what works best for you. But for us, I think we're in a
In
place
general,
where
it's-
we're comfortable with
And it's gotten
balance.
easier. And it's gotten easier too as we've gotten more skilled at doing some of this stuff.
Yeah, I definitely feel that too. So, Leah and Michelle had asked, what does our revised plan look like for January to March with the Italian learning? So, we'll be in Verona from mid-November to mid-February, and it will be just language learning with weekend trips and
5 days a week.
Yeah, 5
12 hours
days
a day.
So we're kind of like, everybody's done such a great job of giving us recommendations. We have a list of places that we want to go, including a couple of Italian Christmas markets as well as ones that are outside of Italy, but they'll be a little bit harder because we obviously will only have weekends to do that. The 2-week stretch that we actually have more time, we are choosing to leave Schengen so that we have time to go back in April. And so
The Italian citizen can't get us out of the Schengen loophole yet, so we're still fighting that.
So we do have a plan to be in a non-Schengen country in between February. Well, we've got plans in South America immediately after our language learning, and then a trip home to the U.S. and then someplace outside of Schengen before we're back for testing. So we will have an entire video of all of our 2027 plans closer, maybe October,
If we
November.
get them to settle down.
Yeah, we are making a few tweaks here and there. So
Do you want to answer this one? It's on the.
Sure. My spouse and I are talking about selling our primary home and going full-time travel. Are you still happy in selling your home? Should we keep the home because when we're old, we'll want forever? Okay, so first of all, I'll say that we lived in various houses that we owned in Houston for 29 years. And then we moved to San Francisco and we chose to rent. And there was a lot of baggage in Houston about renting, but in San Francisco, there was none. There was no gap between, oh, you're a better person or cooler person if you own a home, and you're a lesser person if you choose to rent. So the stigma that really I felt like was in Houston was not at all in San Francisco, which really has taught us we don't care about renting. We would rather have our money invested in the market and various investments than in relying on having a home that is like we might not be able to sell.
Right.
So the idea for us, like we know after traveling full time for 3.5 years, we aren't going to want the home that we thought we wanted before we started traveling. We can be happy with so much less. When we're carrying a backpack and a carry-on a piece,
Right.
you don't need even 1,100 square feet anymore. You can probably do well with something that's small.
And there's qualifiers and everything, right? It's what's your like. We talked a lot about that in our recent video about, you know, whether it's time to sell your home or not.
I just linked to it.
And one of the big reasons is if you have everybody in one spot, like all your family, and this is your gathering spot for people and family, then it makes a lot of sense. Our family is spread all around the country. We were definitely not going to get one spot to solve all the problems of visiting people. So for us, that really wasn't there. We had no pull to keep a forever home or any situation that would be like a family, like nobody wanted our home.
Well,
you know,
no, I mean that's not true.
well, you know what I mean. You know, we're not.
You're not saying
we're not handing down a home to generation after generation.
Oh, sure. The idea, and even in the best of situations, like a lot of times people choose to keep their home because they're in the perfect neighborhood, and this is central to where all of your kids live. But in the 5 or 7 years, however much time that you want to travel, all of those situations can change. Your children can move overseas or they can move to another state because their jobs have moved them there. And your favorite neighbors may have passed away, or they may have moved closer to their kids or to a warmer climate. All kinds of things could happen. So I would rather not in your neighborhood the property values could go down. I know
you're going a little dark here, but
I guess I feel like there's a lot of reasons not to hold on to your house.
Yeah.
Now, what I might recommend is that sometimes for some people, just having that money, if you sell your home, put it aside. So if you want a home base again that you want to own, you have that money to be able to do that with. And there are some people who might actually say after 6 months, you know, this really wasn't my thing and I regret selling my place. Right. So
some people park it for 6 months or a year and see what it's like. Maybe they'll let relatives stay in their home, or maybe they'll rent it out, you know, like an Airbnb style, just to see if they can deal with the travel lifestyle or whatever you're changing to. It doesn't have to be travel. And then they can always have it back. So it's a nice safety valve if that's where you are and you're kind of on that edge and you don't know.
But we knew exactly what we wanted to do.
And we're thrilled.
And we did keep some things in a storage unit, mostly because we ran out of time to get rid of it all. And I mean, literally,
we almost missed a flight.
We almost missed a flight. So in that situation, we had our most essential things, which we also had thought we would be expats somewhere. And so it was important for us to maybe not have to set up everything, but we got rid of every bit of furniture. And it was just like some things that would just be a waste of money to have to replicate. But after we were traveling for probably 4 months, we knew we have no regrets. So the next time we got back to the US, we got rid of everything and we are still very happy. But we know that's not something that everybody feels.
Yeah.
So
I think there's no one right way to do any of this. Yeah. But we're happy. In fact, it's very hard for us to think of actually buying a home anytime in the future. Even if we settle down in somewhere in Italy for extended period of time, 6 months, a year, whatever it is, we still want to rent, because I think at this point we want options. We want to be able to say, yeah, that was great, and we love, let's say, Verona, but maybe now we want to experience something else for the next 6 months or a year. And we want to have that flexibility. We've gotten spoiled by being able to be flexible and say, hey, this is a nice place we're in, but I'd like to see what the next place is like. I want to see what the next experience is like. And experience junkies, maybe. I don't know what it is, but got hooked on it.
It will be, and that's one of the harder things, because we're doing an immersion course and because we're planning to do weekend travel. We're still going to be dipping our toes in travel, but to be in one place for 3 months will feel a bit weird to us.
We haven't done that since we left San Francisco, and it just is mind blowing to me. It's like, I don't know. I mean, I get itchy sometimes when it's 4 weeks. and we've stayed in some places longer, but we're usually either doing a lot there or we've kind of split it between multiple cities. So you're not feeling like I've just been in the same place. So this is going to be a real mind bender for us.
Exactly. Peter Hodge had asked, I'd love to hear how you guys handle health insurance coverage since you're under Medicare age and spend most of your time outside the US. I put a link to a video. We recently did one that talked about that. We're using a Cigna global plan. And here's also an article that we have about it as well. It's
Fast
a little bit
type,
older. And I will say that for us, it's pretty affordable. I think we pay right now $7,000 a year. That's combined for both of us. And most of what we do is out of pocket. We haven't really needed to file any claims because our deductible is $3,000, and this has worked for us.
Now, when you say affordable, I mean, that's a very broad term. And you also, didn't you negotiate with them this last time around because they started out to be a higher quote?
Well, first of all, when I originally started talking to Cigna, they of course are going to sell you the Cadillac, and it's like I'm not interested in the platinum version. Let's give me the coverage I need at the price I want to pay. And so
Silver was good.
Yeah, like we weren't needing $100 deductible. We're using it primarily as catastrophic care, and this works well for that. You can watch that video if you have any other questions. You can ask us about it because we go into depth about Medicare as well and our thoughts about that too. Hey, retirement travelers. Welcome, John and Bev. How nice for you to be here. What's your biggest pet peeve when you travel that doesn't bother the other? Oh, that's a tough one.
Yeah, we're usually on the same page.
Kevin, I will probably say I get more annoyed when we are leaving a plane and people just cram out and they don't let people take turns and empty the plane sequentially. Kevin is able to shake that off. I want things to be fair, and he's able to overlook that stuff. But it really does get in my craw when I see people like barreling through and somebody's trying to get their case out and somebody needs to go around and they can't just wait for 3 more seconds for somebody to do it. And sometimes I have a hard time not wanting to just give my opinion and tell people to simmer down and there's no fire.
Which leads to my pet peeve, which is Judy yelling at somebody in public.
Yell at people in public. But I do want people to be kind.
Trying to get me beat up.
But I do want people to be kind. And Kevin is much more tolerant when
it's more like mom mode she gets into, not yelling, but there's a sternness to the voice.
Somebody asked, how did we name our channel? We have a whole video about that. The short answer is that I'm adopted. And when I found my birth mother at 57, when I was 57 years old, that the name on my birth certificate was Gina Marie. And we started our channel originally because we had such an amazing story. My birth family are all incredible, welcoming people.
And the way things fell in line, it's a good story. So, and we shortened the video down from the early ones. So this is a better
version of it. Yeah. But at the same time, we just kind of felt like finding Gina Marie sounded a little bit more like a story, and we felt like we had some stories to share, and we wanted like finding Gina Marie. We added travel the world because some people had told us that they thought that there was some missing person case, which we did not want tied to such a joyful channel. But it was the idea of when we thought we could live as expats in Italy. That is what prompted us to travel full time. It wasn't possible at that point for us to do it, but we wanted to pay homage to my birth name and my birth mother and just how all of this
kind of your family history, yeah. Yep. Which is how she's an Italian citizen now. So all come full circle.
Holly had several questions. We'll do our best to get to them all. She said, what's a good city to renew my U.S. passport? And we have, I take that, let me clarify that. She wants to know outside of the U.S. because she's not in the U.S. very often. And we have not done it to actually give our specific personal opinion. What we did do, and we've been meaning to put it in a newsletter and we just haven't gotten to it yet, but we did do emergency passport renewals while we were in the US last spring. Not because we ran out of pages, or not because we ran out of
It didn't expire.
It didn't expire.
They had 3 and 5 years still left.
Right. And we had gotten them around the time of COVID, and it wasn't possible to get extra pages. If you were a full-time traveler, I would say go ahead and request extra pages.
The big book.
They're
the big book.
worth the $60 or whatever it is that they cost. And is definitely worthwhile. But we made an appointment in Houston while we were in the US, and they wanted us to come back in 2 days, and we said we were already going to be leaving for San Francisco, so we only had to come back that same afternoon, and we both had full passports. Now, you have to do a lot of paperwork in advance, and you can't do it online. You can print it out from online, but you don't submit it online. All the details are in this article.
And we had to be within a 2-week period of leaving
Yes.
for international travel. So there's a little extra for there, but that worked out really well for us. And the actual process of getting the passport was really less stressful than I thought it was going to be. Especially Houston's passport agency office was pretty empty compared to some DMVs we've been in.
Right. Now, what I do know is that technically for a quick turnaround emergency passport, the location doesn't give you an advantage because wait times depend heavily on the specific nature of your emergency and proof of travel. So the idea that, okay, you need to have a passport quickly because of your next destination and you have no more pages left, that is something they're going to treat as more of an emergency. Otherwise, it could take an expedited through an embassy or an online process, could take 14 days or more. Sometimes it could take 5 weeks. So if you are going to begin this process, first of all, I would suggest that you have a long stay somewhere, ideally in English, never mind. Ideally someplace that you're comfortable being in for a long time. And also understand that when you have to surrender your passport, it's no longer valid. Sometimes you could do it online, but the minute they get your information, you can't travel on that same passport because it's in process.
Yep.
So if you haven't had to surrender it, just know that you still can't travel freely until your new passport comes. So that's just something to bear in mind. We were prepared to get them in Chiang Mai if we needed to at one point, but for us, what worked best was just to be in the US and have it done same day.
Yeah.
And then how do you do laundry in Southeast Asia? We have merino wool shirts that we're hesitant to send out to a full service laundry because I'm afraid they might use a hot setting on the dryer. I don't want my wool shirts to come back shrunken. Now, first of all, we use Wool and Woolen Prints. Super, super duper happy with the wool clothes that we've purchased. Like it is almost the only thing we own and we're super happy with it. So I completely understand, Holly, your protection of those clothes. But I will say that most of the time we are staying in Airbnbs or apart hotels that do have washing machines.
Yeah, we never use a dryer, which means we always are hanging them out. And the one scenario recently that we were in Bangkok and there was...
This is to the situation that she has because she said she mostly stays in hotels.
Right.
And that's what we were doing
We were
in
in a
Bangkok.
hotel and there was no services there. Well, they could do laundry service, but we didn't want them shipped out and dried and folded. So we went to this lady nearby who had a small service, and we told her what we had and could not have them go in a dryer. She said, no problem, I'll hang them out. And
Well, and you could see that she had clotheslines. We could see and felt comfortable that it was a small enough operation that she understood what we needed to have done, and it worked out fine. In
she
fact,
actually, yes, they were supposed to be done the next morning. She actually had them done and returned to our hotel at the front desk that same day. So
because it was hot in Bangkok
Yeah.
and everything was
everything
dry.
dried like that. Yeah.
Yes.
But it was a really good experience because we're always concerned when we're in a hotel and we can't use our own washing machine because we also use our own detergent. You know, like we carry these sheets with us that have no fragrance, no chemicals, nothing in them that's going to, because these clothes have to last us a long time.
A lot of laundry detergent has whiteners and
Yeah.
things that aren't necessarily the best for wool.
Right.
So we use plain Jane laundry sheets, and although we didn't give her our
No.
laundry detergent,
We
and
just
it worked
told her
out
the
fine.
sensitivity that we had to everything, that like we want these done this way, and she was very accommodating. And luckily, that was a good scenario because a lot of hotels were kind of stuck.
But it also is very easy to find laundromats or washaterias where you can do them yourself.
Yeah.
And we've just then taken them and hung them all over.
And there's some hotels that I've gone and asked. I said, "Do you have a drying rack?" And sometimes they do, even though they don't stick them in every room. And they gave us a drying rack at one place. So
if we can wash them ourselves,
We
we
always
would
do.
prefer to do that.
But we've done a walk before and went to a place and just had them wash and then carry them back damp and hung them.
Yes. So even though it's Southeast Asia, it's very easy to look on a map or see laundry services or whatever. And it is possible to communicate
Yeah.
with people of other languages. Even we haven't had to use a
Like Google Translate.
Google Translate for anything like that, but I think you can make with enough gestures, you can make yourself understood. Tim Frock was asking about how do you handle medications when moving from country to country. So we, for the most part, are pretty healthy and don't have a lot of medication we have to travel with. But we do have a prescription drug article that I think is fairly robust. A lot of people will just put all of their medicine in a bag. We always try to have as much information about what it is so that, like, if it's not in original packaging, but most of the time we will put things in original packaging.
Yeah,
Even like right now we're carrying supplements. I don't want to get stopped for a supplement either.
Well, yeah, we have some medications we have to take for the safari. So once we leave Cape Town, we actually have to start taking malaria medicine and a couple other things. And what we did is they sell you like 10 in a box. And I just took all the boxes apart, put them all in one or two or three boxes, however I can fit them in. Or if I don't even need the box, I'll tear off or flatten the box and put it in with the medication. So I still have the box there, but I'm not wasting the space. So we're always cramped on space, and we just make sure that we know that somebody can tell what the medicine is. And we always carry our prescription information and our little yellow book where the doctors have signed off,
It's a vaccination book.
Yeah, the vaccination book. So everything that we can take with us to prove what we have, we try to carry.
Right. And I didn't know this until recently, but what you're carrying for medical supplies doesn't actually count in your carry-on weight or anything else. It shouldn't.
Mm-hmm.
So we know people who take medicines that need to be refrigerated, and if you're carrying some sort of a insulated cooler, it doesn't have to fit in your carry-on suitcase or anything like that. You can carry it separately. And sometimes those things just need to be in your when you're going through security so that they can check it and see what's in there. Sometimes we haven't bothered, but if you're using any kind of sharps, like if you're on diabetes medicine or anything like that, technically you should, they should know that you're carrying something like that. But overall, I think you just do need to research where you're visiting. Places like Japan can be really problematic for certain kind of
there.
So you definitely want to look ahead of time if you're on certain medications to make sure that what's prohibited or not. And like going to the U.S. Department of like us.gov will have, if you, it'll show this, you can say click international travel, and it will let you know banned substances or any kind of civil unrest, all kinds of information about the places that you're visiting. So that's a great resource. Let's see. Holly had also asked about booking flights, and we don't book our flights too far in advance. She says, how far out do you book? And do you book flights that can be changed with a fee, or do you book non-refundable flights? We're looking to book long haul flight 8 months out. That's non-refundable from Singapore to Istanbul. The price looks pretty reasonable, but because of what happened in the Middle East, I'm not sure if I should book it or wait. What are your thoughts? Well, for right now, we feel like Istanbul is actually a pretty good hub. We've
Spent a lot of hours there recently.
well, not unnecessarily. We just had a long layover.
Yeah.
But it's one of the hubs that I think tends to work compared to places in the Middle East that have had planes reroute. Personally, I would be comfortable with having booked a long haul flight 8 months in advance. A lot of times, those are the only ones we book early. Like
Right.
we were just kind of talking, we're going from someplace in Tanzania in Africa to our next destination, which I can't remember where we're going after that. But we don't have, where are we going? Oh, we're going to Turkey. And we don't have that flight booked.
Yeah.
We tend to not book the short haul flights very far in advance. Sometimes that will cost more, but we also know that we've had to change our travel plans for one reason or another. And if we had the whole year planned out, it would really screw us.
Yeah.
So I do think that this link that I just put up is hopefully very useful.
If it's a really long flight, and if it's a trip that we cannot afford to cancel or change, like either like the safari we just had that we have planned, we didn't have it yet, it's coming up, but also our trips to the US, because we've kind of scheduled stuff with family. We want to make sure we're there for that. We book those in advance and make sure they're in there. Way back when we were going to Japan, we made sure that flight was booked early because we knew it was going to be an expensive flight, and we wanted to make sure that we did it right and didn't screw that up. So yeah, any short haul flights, in fact, all the changes that we're making right now, I'm really glad we don't have a ton of flights too far in the future, which we don't anyway. I mean, Judy's job really is to book all the lodging so we know where we're going to stay, and then we look at the flight prices and kind of gauge, or maybe we don't need a flight between these two. We're taking buses between places, and maybe there's an alternative way, and we need to think creatively about this. So we really try to avoid the flights in the future if we can.
Yes, yeah. And I was not prepared for us to have so many questions in advance, which I love.
What a beautiful problem.
Yes, but we're going to go through like maybe for the next 15-20 minutes and answer everything else that's in the live chat. Does that make sense?
Sure.
So you can fast forward if you need to get your question answered, but we hope you're able to stick a lot around, but we understand if you can't. I thought you were going to be in Cape Town in September. No, we will miss you. Bummer. We're here now for like till mid-July, I think, or I guess it is mid-July till sometime in August.
Mid-August.
Yes, you can look and tell us. And let's see. Congratulations, Lydia, who says she's in the process of launching August 4th. Yeah. Okay, so we're here for another few weeks.
Yeah.
Has your criteria for staying in an accommodation changed since you first started? Hi, Gwen. I would say somewhat.
Yeah.
I think that, and this is a purely practical thing, but because of the fact that we're videotaping, I think some places are too dark or too yellow. Maybe if we were living there, that wouldn't matter so much, but we want our videos to turn out a little bit better. So sometimes we pay a little more attention to
room color, to lighting, to windows. the things we've learned over the years about what we can put up with and other things that really kind of make the stay really difficult. We look out for those. It's more of a refinement than it is we've switched everything around.
I'm less likely to book a place that has a ton of clutter.
Right.
And we have learned that we really do need a lot of light, so natural light. So sometimes, let's say, charming places, but that have a building right next to it, or places like when we were in Taiwan and Taipei, and it had no windows at all.
Right.
We really don't like those kinds of things. But in the beginning, we didn't know we didn't like them, or we kind of thought, all right, well, we'll be okay with it. And for a 4-day stay, maybe we would be, but for a month-long stay, we kind of
get more picky.
Yeah, we get more picky.
Yeah, and we have a decreasing list of what's important. It's really important if we're going to stay in a place for a while to have a washing machine, because we want to be able to do our laundry. We'd like to have a kitchen if we're going to stay in a place that allows us to shop and cook our own food, because it saves us money. And if we can have a couch because we work a lot on our computers and it's just comfortable to sit in a place like that, that's great too. So it's if we don't get a dining room table, that's not a big deal, but it's kind of nice to have because we're using it right now to do this live.
Right, exactly. So there's a lot of things we're still willing to compromise on that maybe some people wouldn't be. But I wouldn't say that it's so significantly changed, but we do know that we want to be a little bit more comfortable. But we would rather sacrifice some things within our accommodations to be in a good neighborhood. So I would say that trumps a lot.
It does, yeah.
Gosh. Oh, wow. Is there a city where you would like to live long term? We've answered this question a few times, and we still I think more. We are really happy in Verona, and that's one of the reasons that we're going to be doing our Italian language learning there. But we also liked Torino a lot, which is also in Italy. And we're going to be spending that week in April there while Kevin is taking his exam. And we're going to just kind of see, I think we kind of have felt like we prefer the food in Verona over, Torino has a blend of Italian and French. And even though we like French food, I don't know that I like it as much as I like Italian food. So
yeah, well, we haven't spent enough time there, and maybe this time in Italy, maybe we'll get a few weekends over there and see it from fresh eyes, which I think is another thing, that when we're traveling, sometimes we're in a place and we've experienced something or done something, or the weather is a certain way, and maybe we haven't seen it with the right reflection, the right eyes. So I think going back to a place sometimes that we think is nice gives us another reference point. Like, we loved Florence when we first went there, went back a couple more times, said, it is pretty touristy. It is something that I don't know if I want to be here a long time. But in the beginning, that was going to be our place. We looked at apartments.
Yes. And we do also really like Chiang Mai. And in terms of getting away from the cold winter of Europe,
which we will not do this year.
In the cold months, we would consider being in someplace like Chiang Mai for maybe 3 months out of the year as well.
Yeah. We have somebody that asking, do you find enough downtime during your travels? And I think we do, in a lot of places. There's sometimes when we're just really busy planning, or really busy trying to catch up on something that we haven't been able to do because the travel before it's been fast. So we work really hard to have the downtime. We catch ourselves and say, we got to really breathe and enjoy this place. Sometimes it's tricky, but...
Well, for instance, this week, we had a series of things that came up that we weren't prepared for. And it would have meant that if we would have done a regular traditional video this week, that Kevin would have really had to crunch. And it was enough that we just said, you know what? We still want to talk to our viewers. We have a video that's close to final, but not final enough. Let's just do a live stream, and then we'll be a little bit early for our video for next week. And
fingers crossed.
and we can't get away with doing that very often.
Yeah.
But And sometimes we'll just say we have no video. And it's gotten easier in some respects because we've made the choice that we aren't going to see everything. And we've actually kind of expanded our thinking and have said, okay, when you rush to do those top 10 things, there are 20 other things that you still aren't doing that might be more up your alley, but you didn't give yourself time to do those things. Or they're the things that are serendipitous. Somebody asks us to meet up for lunch or something. We want to be able to have the bandwidth that we're not packed so tight. So we're willing to drop things to do other things. And that helps a lot.
Yeah, in general, we do try to work hard at that. Someone asked just now, what's something you thought you'd have a hard time giving up moving to travel full time since you realized you're fine living without? I mean, it's weird because we both had very intense hobbies and activities. Judy was cooking like crazy. She was getting more and more into some Italian cooking and other things, and I was playing guitar, and I was just picking up keyboard, and I had a whole 200 bottle whiskey collection. And I thought, oh my God.
Whiskey channel.
I had a whiskey channel. I wasn't just a drunk. I was actually doing reviews. But the whole idea was we had a very full life with activities, and our apartment set up just right. And looking back on it, I see that as a chapter in our lives. That's a time when we did these things. And maybe some of them will come back when we settle in a place for longer. But I don't miss them as much when I think back of, well, that was really nice that I had that opportunity, because 10 years earlier, I wasn't doing some of that stuff. So I did have that time in San Francisco, and I really enjoyed it. And I try to think of it as a good time, a good chapter in my life for some of my hobbies.
Yeah, I feel the same. Let's see. Do you have certain systems or parameters to help you get everything done? The YouTube requirements, the planning, and the actual touring. Do you divide the workload? Yes, we divide the workload.
A lot, because we both kind of lean on each other's strengths, and we're also always checking on each other. I'll do something, I'll edit a video that Judy has taken all the time to create the concept for, and then what topics we're going to talk about, and then I'll put it back in front of her and say, Judy, what do you think about this, and this? And she'll point out all the things she wants changed in it. So it's not like one of us just does something and then we're done. Whatever each of us are doing, like all her travel planning, she'll come and say, what do you think of these things? And I'll say, everything's wonderful, dear. I wouldn't change a thing.
That's not how it works. I
remember it that way.
I usually have feedback and then he incorporates. And so it's very interactive. Even though he's hands on keyboard, I still have very definite ideas of what I want certain parts to look like. Yeah. More in terms of, okay, this is gone on too long. We need to trim this section. Or what about this? I don't see where you incorporated it and I wanted it to be there, because he edited it out for one reason or another.
But even Voyage Vault, a lot of the development process that I went through is all based on the work that Judy was doing with multiple tools, multiple apps, and kind of incorporating all what she needed to get done on a daily basis was why it's built up to the way it is today. Because this is a kind of we're using the tools that support our lives, and this is really important that she can get her job done, I get my job done, because there is a lot to get done, and the faster we can do it, the more free time we have to enjoy a place. Which is
it is hard because so I will answer comments, I will be in the forum, I will do travel planning, but Kevin will book flights. And he will do the final look-see over accommodations. I'll figure out where we're going and the neighborhood we want to be in, and then I'll show him 5 or 6 different accommodations, and he'll look a little more carefully at them. That's not something I want to do. And I know that he cares about certain things a little bit more than me. So giving him final say works out well for both of us.
It's a really good division of duty. We're very lucky that we have overlapping skills and skills that complement each other.
Someone asked if we've been to Ljubljana, and yes, and I just put a link to our video in there. What is the most difficult part of making your videos? I'm going to tell you what. The most difficult part of making our videos is the fact that we are at the mercy of an algorithm. And that can take some of the fun out of it. You all are what brings us the most joy. And it is frustrating that we know that there are some videos that never make it to you because for whatever reason, even if you're subscribed, YouTube does not always send it out to even our most loyal viewers all the time.
Right.
And so it is hard that when we put forth a ton of effort in one video and it gets a lot of love, and then the next video gets nothing, and it doesn't make any sense to us. Like, we don't understand why it chooses to distribute certain content and not others.
Now, it's not about the numbers. It's not about the income from it. It really is about, we've created something we think a lot of people would get something from, that they'd enjoy watching it or they get some information. And the fact that it doesn't get out to enough people feels like, well, this is a waste. It's just sitting here, and I wish we could give it to more people. And that's one of the most frustrating parts when you're at the mercy of another corporation who's deciding whether they want to make money off your content or someone else's content. And, there's ebbs and tides in it. And we don't like to sit there and look at numbers. We're not really numbers people. We like to create stuff. We like to help people. We like to spend time with the community. And the frustrating part is that the numbers do hit us because we know we're not getting to the audience that we could get to. And that gets aggravating.
Right. That's exactly it. We know that Timmy in Detroit probably needs to watch this video, and we don't have the way of getting it to him. And honestly, something changed with the algorithm last August, September, and we're also fighting AI. I just recently read something that said, especially the kind of channel we do, there's like an Ask AI feature, and it can take information from other people's videos and basically give you an answer without you ever having to watch our channel. And so when we put in so much work, it is hard to not get build the connections we want to make with you because it just doesn't work that way.
Yeah, if we're each putting in 30 or 40 hours a week on getting videos produced, and you get 3,000 views as opposed to 30,000 views, or good Lord, could we have 300,000 views? Really get the word out there. But the idea is that it's a lot of effort, and we do it for the love of kind of creating. It's fun to create things. So that's why we started it, because we felt like this would be a cool creative outlet, and we could teach or we could learn from other people. It's a nice environment, but it's also a frustrating one.
Yeah, completely. And somebody had asked, like, how many hours a week do you spend on YouTube? We spend a lot. And I will say we work a lot. And we're probably in phased retirement. We don't have our corporate jobs, but we work practically full-time hours.
Oh, yeah. I think, I don't know. Some weeks it feels like I'm putting in more hours than I ever did at a corporate job. But.
Yes. But let's say, for instance, the infrastructure that we've built, includes our La Familia forum. We have a Gelato membership, and we love every single person there. And we try to maintain connections in some way, and those things take time, as well as responding to comments, which again, this is like when you leave us a comment, this is us having a chance to know you. So when you see us on the street, we don't know you, but if we know your handle and we see you on the street and you leave us comments, we know you then, because it's like, oh yeah, I remember them talking about this or sharing this story or opening up their lives and giving us a sneak peek. So I know a lot of people have said, like, you don't need to give such long answers. But if I saw you in the street, I would give you a long answer. And I feel like you deserve it when you leave a comment as well. Honestly, I know you by the comments that you leave. And I look forward to hearing from each one of you as often as you are so inclined to leave a comment to us. But like, you're our friends. You truly are.
Definitely.
But tied with everything else. Like the steps include like understanding what we're going to see in a place so that we can film the right stuff, so we can bring a story to you, and then figuring out how we bring that story. I think it's not always the most exciting thing. We did this, and then we did this, and then we did this. So we try not to be that kind of channel. There's a purpose for those channels. That's just not who we are. And so it takes us a while to flesh out how we want to share a place with you. And then, of course, and this is a question, I don't have the person in front of me, but they have a new channel about a lifestyle over 50. I will say that having a good thumbnail and good packaging, like your title and thumbnail, that somebody wants to click on is one of the most important things that you can have, because nobody knows how good your video is if they don't click on it because the packaging inspired them in some way.
Yeah. One more little tip. Audio is the best thing to get right on a video. It really is tough when the audio is bad. When we're in an environment where I can't make the audio better, I get very frustrated because I know it's really painful for you to listen to wind noise or something on the outside blowing in, or I don't know. It's just, that's a really important thing if you're doing a channel. Just a little throw out tip there, but.
Right. And I will also say that the more pillars you have, you know, for us, we talk about destinations, but then we also talk about our lifestyle and travel planning. And sometimes when you have too many of those things, YouTube doesn't know how to serve up your content. So it's something to keep in mind. For instance, people who aren't traveling full time have no interest in how to downsize their house necessarily, or how to manage missing family and friends, because that stuff isn't relevant to them. So but if there's enough of that content, sometimes it confuses people. Like, are they interested really in hearing about Riga, Latvia? So you kind of have to be aware of how much you divide your content up. Let's see. I remember that your daughter visited you while you were traveling. Hi, Sophia. Has anyone else in your family traveled from the U.S. to meet up overseas? No.
No. Friends. We've met up with
We've
friends.
met up with a lot of friends, and we've met a ton of you all, and that's been absolutely amazing. But the reality is our sons don't really like to travel, and sometimes for vacations, people like we choose to book ahead a lot of our travel plans. And so that means that sometimes if somebody's in a place, we can't always get there if we don't have enough notice. However, I will say that my brother is going to be meeting us in Rome in 2027. So we have preserved time to meet up with him. It's his first time to be in Italy. And he's also going to be in Greece, but it just doesn't work for us to be in both of those places.
Yeah, but our daughter is definitely the traveler. She has gotten the travel bug, and she's been in places recently. It's like, how did you get to Australia? What are you doing there? And where are you going? She's doing a really good job of getting around the world.
And one of the things I will say is a little bit challenging is that our lifestyle is travel. And sometimes family members or friends, whatever, are going to meet you, and they have 2 weeks and they're going to fill every day with something to do, and they want you to tag along to it all. And the way we work, not even outside of our channel, but if we did all of that in that amount of time, we would be exhausted.
Completely.
And they're going to go home and they're going to be watching Netflix, maybe YouTube, dope us, and like go back to their jobs or whatever their downtime is, but they're going to recoup, and then they'll go out again in 6 months, maybe for another trip. Well, we're going to be having to go somewhere in 2 days, perhaps, and we have to see all the new sites there, and then the next place and the next place. So if we didn't give ourselves downtime of some sort, we wouldn't have any time to recoup. And maybe there are people who absolutely love that, but we do need down days where we aren't like pushing ourselves every moment. In fact, we've got a video here with like energy is one of the things we talk about. It was basically after 1,000 days of travel, this is what we learned. And I think there's a lot of good information in there.
I think we need to figure out the last couple of questions and wrap
Okay,
it up. We
sure.
are
Sounds great.
almost at 90 minutes. So.
Have you had to use travel insurance during your travels, and have you not been able to recover expenses even with travel insurance? I will tell you that travel insurance is a very mixed bag, and we choose to rely on our credit card travel insurance versus getting travel insurance in general.
The
With
fine
exception,
print is really tricky. You have to look at all the little exceptions they throw in there, and sometimes it's like reading this detailed contract where you think, "Wow, they have so many loopholes. Will I ever get anything back?"
and that's by design.
Yeah.
Now, I will admit that, okay, for our safari, there's, we hope, a very low likelihood that one of us will get mauled. It could happen. And so we are getting travel
very dark here.
travel insurance because it's an expensive trip, and we also know that we're in a riskier environment, and if we need to be evacuated, we want to make sure that we have good evacuation coverage and good medical care. So that is like one of the few things that we have done, that, and also our Antarctica trip, because they're so expensive excursions that we really need to give ourselves some sort of protection.
Yeah.
When we were in Argentina and we had so many things go wrong, we did send our issues to the credit card company, but they kept asking for more information and more information. And like, for instance, one thing that was a little complex is we had a flight that was canceled, but we had done it as 2 one-way trips. So let's say it was to get to El Calafate, but we couldn't. And then we had a trip back from El Calafate, and it was only a 3-day trip, so it was quick. Well, there was some problem with the airline. They canceled our trip to get there, and
But they didn't cancel the trip coming back, so that was still good. They weren't giving us money back for that.
but they weren't also allowing us to reschedule.
Right.
So by the time we could reschedule, that trip would have been over.
Yeah.
But the attitude was, well, we had no problem with that return trip, so it's not our fault you didn't take it. And I feel like there were so many different kinds of nuances of what couldn't be covered. And I know this doesn't happen very often, but also that same airline, Fly Bondi, do not ever fly Bondi.
Never fly.
Well, we were at the airport. They canceled the flight and they immediately refunded our money, but they never sent us any kind of communication about the flight being canceled. We only found out because of the boards.
Yeah, I was looking at the
airport.
board and I saw it flip to cancel. I said, do we have any notification on the phone or anything?
And they were lousy communicators. We had no documentation to submit to our credit card company
Right.
in order to get that money back.
Yeah.
And we're not big on spending a bunch of time that could be better used towards creating better videos or sightseeing or just having some downtime
Yeah.
to just be sending copious amounts of paperwork. So we just we got some back and we just cut our losses and said that's as much effort as we want to go through.
If you're traveling a couple times a year and these are, you're taking the only vacation time you have from work to do these trips, it sometimes is really important to make sure that you don't get canceled because you only have this 2-week period. Because we keep traveling over and over and over to other places, it would really hurt us financially if we were trying to pay extra for tickets or insure everything we do. Plus, it's enough work to track all the trips and all the locations and all the lodging and all the reservations we're putting down for tours and everything else. It would be a monstrous job to have each one of those have some sort of policy we have to back up with.
Well, and even if you don't, just the cost of them.
Yeah.
I feel like when there were a few places that I started thinking, maybe I should be doing this. But once I realized that it was adding another 20 or 30% to the cost of our travel, and like even the situation, the tragedy when Kevin's sister passed away and we wanted to get back to the US.
Yeah.
Well, we had really complicated travel coming back from New Zealand. And they were like, okay, we'll refund your money, but we need a death certificate in like the next 3 days. Well, we couldn't obtain something like that so quickly. And it impacted our ability to travel back to the US. Now, granted, if we would have had travel insurance, it would have been worth it. But let's say maybe we would have paid an extra $100, let's say. But it was several flights,
It was, yeah.
30 over the course of 32 hours. If every flight that we did, and we have, let's say, 20 or 30 flights in a year, $100 each time adds up.
Yeah. So.
Okay, it's been an hour and a half, and I will tell you, we're going to read through all of the comments that you all left. I see so many kind words that you all have left for us.
Yeah, we really appreciate your time that you spent here. I know some of you are in time zones that are inconvenient, and we really appreciate that too.
Yeah, you all are great people, and we're so glad to have you as part of our community. And we thank you so much for everything.
Thank you, and hope to see you next time.
Yeah, take care. Until next time.
Until next time.